video is a concept and theory video. This is not how to build a box. Shop class is down the hall. Thank you, and enjoy the video. So this video we are going to talk about what creates a 55 decibel on music ride. This box has taken quite a bit of work to get it to that. So I guess I'm going to first talk about the process it's gone through to create a 55. First, starting out power-wise, at the start of the season, this box itself was a 52, 51.8, 52, right around there. It kind of bounced around a little bit depending on where I slid it, where I put it power-wise and whatnot. She had a smaller port on it at first. She had what I've always referred to as the 180 port. For those of you who are questioning what the hell is a 180 port, your port square inches is exactly that. It's the square inches of the port. It is one side times the other. This one right here is a 220 port. This is 10 inches high by 22 inches long, giving us 220. My other port was same in effect ratio as far as 10 high, only 18 long. So I was getting 180 inches of port. We started off at the season of 52. We added the tar amp and went to a 53.4 with this thing instantly, with just adding the tar amp for adding more power. So essentially the sound streams were I don't know, not as efficient as a tar amp essentially. Moving on though, I then after that went back into it and did some internal stuff. Let's talk about strength first of all. The factor of the strength was already there. I'd put in the beams already. I use black pipe beams. You may have seen this in some of my other previous videos, maybe you haven't. But it's gas pipe. It's 1/2 inch. There's a floor phalanges that I use to connect to the sides up and down. I actually countersink the screws down into the wood so it's not facing out and creating bumps and ripples to the top and bottom. I leave 2 holes usually open on the bottom on each side that actually go down into the box, past the box into the subfloor, which we'll go over in a second here. Same thing on the other side also. They are countersunk into the box itself for holding on to the supports throughout the box. Another strength thing, this was a technique that I didn't use for a long time that was told to me that I just all of a sudden decided to try and use. I was tipping my box on its side by lifting up the whole thing and tilting it on its side and putting fiberglass in there and just letting it harden, creating 45s to help with your sound that gets stuck in the corners from 90-degree corners that gets bad, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for right now. You get bad reflection essentially of your sound waves in 90-degree angles. So I did fiberglassing to create my 45s recently. Now, we can say, a lot of people, you know, you can build your box and you can do supports on the inside and you can do this and that, and you can say that I've got a strong face. It's strong, which I've in the past built a box, same thing. It was strong. Strong face. I did beams like this. I glassed, I can't tell you how many layers with resin, with fiberglass, matting, and everything else. But I'm here to tell you that there's an actual reason behind multiple faces besides strength. And I have something here to help show my example. This is my crossfire basket. Okay? This is your suspension for your subwoofer. That goes around and sits right here. Now, as you can see, I have 3 layers of a baffle. This is known as your face baffle, your baffle. A lot of the tricks that the pros do not tell you, that I still actually have to do another layer in testing and to test and see what happens, that you should actually be bringing your face down to meet your suspension. And the reasoning behind that is as weird as this kind of sounds, is you're turning your subwoofer into a piston type driver as an engine would work, if that kind of makes sense, for the bang part of it, the compression part of it. I know that kind of sounds kind of funny, maybe the way I gave that little analogy. Maybe it does make sense, but that's essentially the reasoning behind. You'll see in some of these, if you'll ever get to see them rip out their woofers or the building process of their wall, and that a lot of the guys won't tell you why they're doing it, but that's a key reason why their baffles are going so thick. Essentially, they're going to meet this right here, this space in between. So, along with having a strong face, which you do want to have, do not get me wrong, you don't want any vibration in your box. Any vibration equals loss of dB. So there is a good reason for all of the pipe, all the strength, the glassing. Besides, if you've watched my previous videos of white glass, there's a reason that, you know, wood is not it is not airtight. It does not hold air. You can actually, it's very extremely porous, and for sound reasonings, you want all your sounds to go where you want them, and not being leaked out just everywhere ominously. And that's how one of the tricks to get rid of your ominous sound. Ominous meaning your sound is reflecting absolutely everywhere pretty much. There's no directional to your sound. Let's get into, we're still on strengthening here. This box is a dual layer box. Mine actually on the bottom, to truth to be told, is only a single layer. The reasoning behind the single layer actually is for a few reasons: height restrictions, build reasons, meeting your best ever outcome is really going to be trying to get a height here in the middle of your top and your bottom of in between. And I'm actually a little above that, so I didn't really want to go any higher. But the reasoning behind my single layer is because I actually have a dual layer subfloor throughout my ride here that actually goes all the way back. So I'm actually screwing down, and my actual subfloor is actually screwed down to the chassis of the vehicle, or not the chassis, but you know, the frame of the vehicle, chassis, whatever, blah blah blah. And I think I actually even got a couple frame points, some screws that want to go in. Anywho, the way this Mazda is designed, if you look with this roof, I don't know if you've ever, well, no, you can't really tell. But anywho, with the way this thing goes all the way to my B-pillar, there's actually 2 inches of birch up there, of 3/4 birch. 2 inches of 3/4 birch is a lot of sound deadening and a lot of sound reflection. Back here on the tailgate, this whole thing is filled with insulating foam all the way down through there. We got a couple pieces of wood birch back behind the plastic there. We have a very good concrete-ish type reflector essentially for bouncing those sound waves off and actually reflecting them back into the ride where they need to go. So with our birch floor, our birch roof, we have deadened tailgate here. We have strength out the yang pretty much. We started working on doors a little bit. We're going to do a lot more work here at the once it gets a little warmer here on those little bad boys. But anywho, that is some tips on strength there. Double ply your box for 50s, essentially 50s plus, I should be saying. What I did here, for that I've actually put on another previous video, is use epoxy resin. Now, I could have been a little bit wrong on that, could be a little bit right on that. I'm not totally done testing and playing with it, because they actually do use epoxy resins on other stuff yet, so I still have yet some testing to do. Anyways, where I'm going with this is epoxy resin actually has a higher bond strength, 3 times stronger. However, is not as strong as the poly that you normally do, which is inside the box. This is glass. It's a poly. It's a polymer. Whereas this is epoxy. There's no smell to it. It's better for your health. It self-levels. This is very scratched up and clean, or not clean from the season and pulling in and out and getting stuff all over it. But normally this is very, very, very clear and very shiny that you can see extremely very well on. There was no sanding required to do this. It leveled itself. It was extremely smooth from the beginning, glass-like, without even doing anything. This is only 2 layers at that too. I don't know if we can tell how thick this is in this video, if I can get some very good footage here, but this is only 2 layers of it essentially, and I was able to get this result out of it. Like I said, for as far as strength-wise, my testing, as you can see here, I'm going to do some more stuff and add some more stuff to it, but with this just itself, however, it's kind of brittle. I throw some screws in there and you can see I'm chipping it up and whatnot, but that's all really kind of damage I've done to it so far. So, but I can tell you this though, however, they do use epoxies when they're doing help me out here. You're not helping me out. Some carbon fiber. Carbon fiber work is actually done with epoxies. So the strength is there, but yet I still have, maybe I'm using cheaper brand, maybe I'm not using hardeners like I should because it's a cheaper brand, blah blah blah, anyhow, whatnot. So as you can see, I used a formula. There's different formulas that you can buy. There's different set times. My set time on this stuff that I used was extremely long. I mean, like hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So being not on a flat surface, it was just oozing off because I rounded every single one of my edges. It was just oozing off, and just until it hardened and it gave this little ripple effect. I didn't really care though. Big deal. Anywho, all my edges are rounded from the port, as I was just saying. Port edges are rounded. The only thing I didn't do that I probably should have maybe done a little bit better, but yet my holes were just a hair too big, so I didn't want to go back for reasonings of just air gap reasons. I should have had a cleaner surface lip here. I don't know. Yeah, there we go. You can see that one a little bit better. This actually should have been rounded out better. This should have been flat straight down, and this should have been rounded on the back part of that. That's probably something right there, just rounding that out and cleaning a little bit when I go sticking this thing back up in there. That's what she said. Anywho, when I go putting it back in the ride, we're going to be doing some fixes here. I actually got some, I don't know where they're at, some fiberglass issues that I did when it was too cold out and it just didn't stick right, and I got some stuff to fix. So when I go fixing this stuff, look at that big old sheet piece. I think that's about all I need to go over. How to do my face to make this face extremely strong also. What's on the side here? In construction world, I guess you could say, they use a term called cleats. These first 2 layers of my baffle is actually countersunk down into the box. It goes below and down inside, and then the cleats actually sit down lower down here. So then actually you can see I was able to screw downwards first into these cleats, which are also screwed, and I screwed that way, so it's extremely, and these go all the way around the box. So anyways, my battery just died, not my battery, but I ran out of space on it. I had to clear some space out. So anywho, I've screwed this way with this, I've screwed down, and then on top of it, the last layer actually went all the way over to the edge on all sides, screwed down onto the cleat that goes down into the dual layer, and then screwed down onto this, the outer layer edge of the cabinet, to create how they do folding cabinetry, tucks and whatnot, for strength of the cabinet itself. So all of that together, it's not just one thing that creates a very loud box. You know, I hear guys, you know, I want to build this box and I want to have this high expectation number, which I did for a long time too. I told myself I didn't want to go building some crazy box until I met a certain number, and then I'd put more faith into a box and provide more money into a box, assuming that I would get more of a better result. But it does take work. All these boxes I've always built have always took more time into them, a few months at that, maybe sometimes, to get usually 3 to plus decibels out of them. I guess you could say, after quotes of things that I'm going to need to do, I guess we've kind of gone over. I'm going to need to clean that up on this one already that I'm still seeing. And this is months later. I need to go out. I'm running enough power now, and I'm using this small stuff, which is 8 gauge. We need to go to a 4 gauge wire to run to the subwoofers. I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, what, 4 gauge wire? I run that stuff as battery wire, but high power to subwoofers need extremely large wire, otherwise they're acting like resistors essentially. So we're going to go to some 4-gauge wire in this box. We're going to maybe clean up this port a little bit more where I need to clean up the glass a little bit more. And we're going to stick her back in there, and we're going to add some more power to this bad boy. We're going to see what happens. We got another addictive audio on the way, and we've got the tar amps being modded right now. So we got some good stuff coming. Stay tuned to see higher numbers out this bad boy. And I still actually have some tricks up my sleeve to do a couple more things for more decibels. I've never been one to chase small decibel tenths. I like going for whole decibels. Now, maybe that sounds kind of funny, but why dream small? Go big, right? Have fun. Hope you learned something today. Go out there, build something nice and big, make everybody proud. Have a good one. Mike Honcho out.